I realized there's some confusion concerning the disbursement, as Hungary was allocated a lot more than, for example, Italy. So could you help us with the calculations behind? Because we know that the money was reserved for the purpose of coherence, but how can we really talk about coronavirus help and support if it doesn't reach countries suffering the most? And therefore, I'm wondering how the Commission will prove or verify where the money goes to, if there is a procedure of checking if it is correctly used for fighting the coronavirus.
Okay, Vivian.
Yes, good afternoon.
Yes.
And thank you. Last question. Well, when you look at what the Commission has provided the member states for help with fighting this virus, then Marta, of course, gave in the beginning of today's midday already a very comprehensive overview of all the financing and aid that has been put out there. The coronavirus response investment initiative is one part of it, and what we tried to do there, or what we aimed to do there, was to make full use of existing EU structural funds to support member states in their response to the coronavirus crisis. What we did was that we made available money that wouldn't have been available for these specific purposes otherwise. So it goes for health-related expenses, help to the SMEs, and work schemes. And it's, to call it, it's a sort of an emergency liquidity from EU structural funds and investment funds to tackle the most urgent needs. What we did not, and what we did do, was give utmost flexibility to use the funds for the countries. What we did not do is change the way the cohesion funds have been decided to be dispersed among member states, and this is what explains the question, I think, what you asked for. So our aim is to help the member states that are of immediate need of financial support, but using the money that we have readily available, which is in the funds as they had been dispersed among the member states already. So I hope that this answers your question and gives you an understanding of what we aimed with the Corona Investment Initiative.
And Vivian, you will correct me if I'm wrong, but this remains cohesion money, and therefore a member state can very well decide to continue using it for cohesion purposes. We have not suddenly said that the funding is no longer available for cohesion. So if a country has less needs to fight the coronavirus, it can probably continue to spend the funds for the foreseen purposes. Vivian, I hope I'm right.
Yes, you're right. It really is how to make the best use of these funds. And then again, who knows it best if not the people who are most intimately involved with taking these decisions. So it's for the member states to discuss it with the Commission and to make sure that they use the funds what is best meant for these specific member states.
So, you know, it's a bit odd that when we are giving member states utmost flexibility to use the funds according to what they perceive as the most immediate needs that they have, that we are criticized for this, because ultimately we are not redirecting by force the use of funds. We're saying you have funds available. If you see the need to use these funds for something else than what they were initially foreseen under the cohesion programming, because you have a health emergency, you can do so. This is the logic. And again, this is only one of the measures among many measures that have been taken to enable member states to provide an adequate response to the crisis. Okay. Yes, I think you have a follow-up.
Sorry. Yeah, just a follow-up. So could you maybe provide us with numbers? Because I think there are a lot of numbers quite now floating around. And I think it's a bit difficult to get the whole picture as there are, as I said, a lot of numbers right now flowing around. Could you maybe provide us with the concrete numbers or the funds allocated?
Sorry, numbers on what? On the regional fund, on the cohesion funding in each country?
Yes. of the coronavirus response investment initiative.
Yes, these figures have been available for a long time. They were published, I think, after the technical briefing that took place, but I'm sure that Vivian will be able to provide them to you again. Absolutely, no problem.
Thank you.
Catherine, you want to prolong this exercise? Let me just remind everybody that we had said that we would limit the midday briefing to roughly an hour. We're at an hour and a half. We're very happy to serve you, but this will be the last question for today.
All right. Can I just, a very short question. If that money had not been given, if you hadn't applied sort of flexibility to those funds would have been clawed back by different member states based on their net contribution. Is that correct?
No, they would have been. They would not have been clawed by member states. They would have been repaid from the member state to the EU budget. That's my understanding. Vivian confirms.
Because my question is this: the countries that are at the forefront of this, countries like Italy and Spain, would probably have received funds back from underspending in other countries.
No, Catherine. No. Catherine, the structural funds don't work like that. You don't transfer funding from one country that has not spent the fund to another country that has a bigger need. Each member state has an envelope attributed to it under the cohesion funding programming, and if it is not in a position to spend that funding goes back to the EU budget. But I give the floor to Vivian in case there are exceptions to this rule.
Thank you. No, I agree to that, of course, but we're speaking also about two parts of the money. One of it is the unspent money, which normally would have gone back would have been had to reimbursed to the EU budget, and the other thing is front-loading the 2020-2021 spending payments, which again we provided full flexibility for. But we are speaking about funding within a member state's budget line.
Exactly. So the important thing is there are no transfers between member states in terms of expenditure, Catherine. Okay. With that, I will bring this midday press briefing to a close, thanking you all for your very active participation and my colleagues as well. And we will be very happy to see you here again tomorrow. Thank you. See you tomorrow.